Balogun's red card pressure now threatens USA's Belgium last 16 plan. Can Pochettino fix the attack before Belgium punish it? Balogun appeal questions are rolling. Belgium survived Senegal 3-2 after extra time, and Kane's no call has England fuming. Tablo Sports starts with USA's win and Balogun's suspension cloud. First up, the win that should have felt clean now comes with a selection headache big enough to follow the USA straight into the last 16. USA march on, but Folarin Balogun red card clouds Belgium last 16 tie. The easy story is that the USA marched on, and yes, that matters. The sharper story is that Mauricio Pochettino may have lost the striker who had already changed the match before changing the mood completely. Knockout football does not care how good your headline looks if your next team sheet suddenly has a hole through the middle. USA are through to a World Cup last 16 meeting with Belgium, and ESPN notes this is their first World Cup knockout win since 2002. That is a huge line for American football. It gives the squad proof, it gives the project credibility, and it gives the home audience a reason to believe this run is not just noise around a tournament on North American soil. But then came the Folarin Balogun red card, and suddenly the celebration had a shadow attached to it. BBC Sport frames the central question exactly where it belongs. Will Balogun's dismissal prove costly? He was a goal scorer before being sent off, which is the cruel little twist here. The player who helped drag USA toward the next round may now be unavailable for the match where finishing could matter even more. Against Belgium, the issue is not just replacing a name. It is replacing a reference point, a runner, a penalty box threat, and a player defenders actually have to respect between the center backs. Look, this is where Pochettino earns the expensive tactical reputation. Does he keep the same attacking structure and plug in another forward? Does he shift the front line to create more movement rather than a fixed striker? Does he ask his wide players to carry more of the scoring burden? The fan argument is already boiling around VAR and whether the red card was too harsh, but the dressing room problem is colder and more immediate. USA have Belgium next, and Balogun's availability is not something Pochettino can simply wish back onto the team sheet. That brings us straight to the procedural part, because the emotional reaction and the disciplinary reality are not the same thing. Balogun red card appeal questions follow USA's World Cup win. The loudest fan argument is about injustice, but the useful question is about process. A red card appeal is not a magic eraser. It is a narrow route through rules, evidence, and timing. USA supporters can be angry, but Pochettino has to plan as if the suspension may stick. The Athletic and Fox Sports have both been looking at whether Balogun's red card can be challenged. And here's the important bit. This is not done yet. The reporting we have says the decision is being scrutinized after USA's knockout win, but that is not the same as saying the card has been overturned, and it is definitely not the same as saying Balogun is available against Belgium. Straight red cards normally trigger at least a one-match suspension, and that is why the stakes are so obvious. If the card stands, Balogun misses the last 16 tie. If there is a successful appeal or disciplinary relief, Pochettino suddenly gets his striker back for one of the biggest USA matches in recent memory. That tiny word, if, is carrying a ridiculous amount of weight right now. Put it this way, outrage is easy content, but availability is the currency. USMNT fans are comparing this call with other tournament VR decisions, and the complaint is not coming from nowhere. Consistency has been a theme across the knockout round. Still, the practical question remains brutally simple. Does USA prepare a Belgium plan with Balogun central to it, or does Pochettino spend the next training block building a version of the attack that can survive without him? And the opponent waiting for USA did not arrive calmly either. Belgium got through, but they did it the hard, messy, sweat-on-the-shirt way. Belgium beat Senegal 3-2 after extra time to reach last 16. Belgium's win over Senegal looks dramatic on paper, and it was. But drama can hide fragility, especially when a team needs extra time, controversy, and a late penalty to escape. USA should respect Belgium's quality without pretending the Red Devils looked untouchable. Belgium beat Senegal 3-2 after extra time in a World Cup last 32 tie, with Yuri Tielemans scoring a controversial late extra time penalty winner. Sky Sports and BBC both described the finish as dramatic and controversial, and BBC went even further by pointing to a latest ever winner, a comeback, and the argument around the decisive moment. That is not just a result, that is a match that leaves bruises, complaints, and probably a few coaches staring at video clips until 3 in the morning. Senegal are out. Belgium are in the last 16. Those are the facts. But the way Belgium got there matters for the USA tie. A team that can come back from chaos has resilience. A team that needs chaos to survive may also be vulnerable. The temptation with Belgium is always to look at the names, remember the golden generation aura, and assume control. This match did not give us control. It gave us survival. The VAR and late penalty debate is dominating reaction to Senegal's exit, and that matters because the tournament is collecting these refereeing flashpoints like souvenirs. For Belgium, the emotional benefit is huge. They survived a knockout scare and kept moving. For USA, the scouting message is more complicated. Belgium have match winners, but they also showed gaps, stress, and the kind of late-game disorder that a brave opponent can attack if the Balogun problem does not blunt USA's edge. The VAR argument is not limited to USA and Belgium. England are through as well, but their match has dropped another refereeing grenade into the tournament conversation. Kane penalty no call fuels controversy after England edged d'Ivoire Congo. England winning does not make the Harry Kane penalty debate disappear. The real issue is not whether every supporter agrees with Kane, it is whether similar moments are being judged by the same threshold. When knockout matches are decided by thin margins, VAR inconsistency becomes part of the competition, not background noise. Sky says Dermot Gallagher was perplexed that Harry Kane was not awarded a penalty against Didier Congo, while Fox Sports has framed the incident as part of a wider penalty furore around England's World Cup win. England beat Didier Congo, so let us be clear on this. England are not out, and FIFA has not overturned the decision. The controversy lives because the moment involved England's captain, a major knockout match, and a penalty question that did not get the answer many expected. Kane scored twice in England's comeback win, according to BBC coverage, which makes the debate even more interesting. This is not a story about Kane failing to influence the game. He did influence it. The issue is whether he should have had another huge moment from the spot, and whether the officials missed a clear chance to apply the standard people thought VAR was supposed to protect. Supporters are split between two familiar camps: clear penalty or Kane went down easily. Somewhere in the middle sits the actual problem. If VAR gets involved for one kind of contact in one match, then waves away something similar in another, players and fans stop trusting the system. That is how a technology sold as clarity becomes another layer of football politics with a replay monitor attached. England's reward for surviving that argument is not exactly gentle. Next comes Mexico at the Azteca, and this one is about lungs as much as lineups. England prepare for Mexico at Azteca with altitude a major concern. The Azteca is not just a famous stadium, it is a competitive condition. England can talk tactics all they want, but altitude changes pressing, recovery, substitutions, and decision-making under fatigue. Mexico do not need the match to be neutral in name if the environment gives them a practical edge. BBC reports that England's last 16 match against Mexico at Estadio Azteca brings a major altitude challenge, and ESPN says Thomas Tuchel called it impossible for England to fully adapt in time. That detail matters. Azteca is commonly cited as above 7,000 feet in altitude, and if you have watched enough football there, you know the ball, the breathing, and the legs can all start behaving like they have their own private agenda. England's next World Cup match is against Mexico at Estadio Azteca, and BBC also notes Mexico have a strong competitive record there. So do not call this a normal venue story. It is not just a postcard backdrop with a nice camera angle. For England, the challenge is how much they can press, how quickly they can recover between sprints, and how early Tuchel might need to use substitutions before fatigue starts making tactical choices for him. England fans are worried fatigue and recovery could matter as much as tactics, and they are right to be worried. That does not mean altitude is the only factor. Mexico still have to play the football, handle the pressure, and exploit the conditions properly. But if England arrive after a comeback win, a refereeing storm, and a short recovery window, this match could turn into a test of oxygen management as much as attacking design. Elsewhere, another knockout tie is still waiting to be played, and this one has trap game written all over it if Spain treat the badge as a shortcut. Spain vs Austria preview highlights team news before World Cup round of 32 tie. Spain are favorites, but favorite is not the same as safe. Austria's best route is structure, timing, and making Spain's young attackers feel the weight of knockout patience. This is the kind of match where control can look beautiful until one transition turns it into panic. Al Jazeera previews Spain against Austria in the World Cup round of 32, with team news and predictions part of the build-up. The winner moves into the last 16 bracket, so this is still a pre-match story, not a result. Spain are being framed as the stronger side, but the preview coverage also makes the sensible point: this is not risk-free football just because Spain are Spain. The interesting bit is how Austria make the match uncomfortable. Spain's young attack has talent, movement, and the ability to pull teams apart when the rhythm starts flowing. But knockout football is not a training ground rondo with a television audience. If Austria can keep their structure compact, slow Spain's central combinations, and choose the right moments to spring forward, the favorite can be dragged into a match that feels much uglier than the preview graphic. Fans are asking whether Spain's young attack can handle knockout pressure, and that is the right question. Talent does not automatically mature because the anthem finishes and the camera cuts to a close-up. Spain have the technical level to control the ball for long stretches, but Austria's upset chance lives in the spaces Spain leave when control turns into impatience. Now to a match with star power, age, and danger all in the same frame. Portugal against Croatia is being sold through icons, but the tactics cannot be treated like a side dish. Portugal vs Croatia reunites Ronaldo and Modric in World Cup knockout preview. Cristiano Ronaldo and Luka Modric are the emotional headline, and pretending otherwise would be silly. But nostalgia alone is a lazy read of this match, because both teams still have systems, weaknesses, and younger players who may decide it. The legacy pressure is real, the tactical reality may be even harsher. The Guardian previews Croatia against Portugal as another World Cup meeting involving Luka Modric and Cristiano Ronaldo, while Opta Analyst also lists Portugal vs Croatia as a World Cup 2026 match preview. The Times notes Ronaldo is still chasing a World Cup knockout goal, which gives this fixture an obvious personal edge. But this is not a retirement documentary. Neither player has retired, and no winner has been decided before kickoff. Fans are treating it as a possible farewell match for one of the two icons, and you can understand why. Ronaldo and Modric carry a huge amount of World Cup history, status, and emotional weight. Every touch from either player will be treated like evidence in a legacy trial. One pass, one shot, one substitution, and half the internet will start writing final chapters before the match clock has even cooled down. Here is the important bit. Portugal cannot let the Ronaldo storyline swallow the collective problem, and Croatia cannot rely on Modric to bend time forever. Knockout football is often cruel to legends because it asks the oldest players to solve the fastest moments. If this match opens up, the decisive action may come not from the famous faces on the poster, but from the runners around them who punish tired legs in the final half hour. While others are still fighting through the bracket, Germany are already in the autopsy room, and Philipp Lahm is not dressing it up with comforting language. Philipp Lahm says Germany must rediscover identity after another early World Cup exit. Germany's latest exit is not just a bad tournament, it is another hit to their old tournament identity. Lahm's point matters because he is not reducing the problem to one coach or one missing superstar. When a country loses its football self-image, the rebuild becomes deeper than a lineup change. Philipp Lahm argues Germany are no longer a tournament team and must reconnect with their own football identity. The Guardian reports Germany have suffered a third early World Cup exit in a row, and that is the statistic that cuts through all the noise. This is not one unlucky summer. This is a pattern, and patterns are much harder to dismiss than a single bad night. Lahm's argument is that the problem is not simply talent or the coach's name. That matters because the lazy version of this debate always goes hunting for one villain. Sack the coach, blame the striker, complain about mentality, move on. But Germany's issue now feels more structural than that. The old certainty, the sense that Germany would find a way in tournament football, has been replaced by a question nobody in German football wants to keep hearing. What's the message? What are they actually trying to be? German football debate is shifting towards structure, identity, and leadership. That is the correct direction, even if it is uncomfortable. Do not claim a coach has been sacked unless it is officially confirmed, and do not treat Germany as alive in the bracket. They are out of the current World Cup, and Lahm's warning lands because the damage is not only about elimination, it is about a national team losing the thing opponents used to fear before the ball was even kicked. The situation is becoming more complex away from the pitch as well, because a World Cup can lose trust in the stands before a ball is even played. World Cup fans report last-minute StubHub ticket cancellations. Ticket failure is not a side story when fans have already paid for flights, hotels, and matchday plans. The resale market sells access, but last-minute cancellations turn that promise into a financial trap. A tournament that wants global spectacle cannot treat supporter certainty like an optional extra. BBC reports that hundreds of World Cup fans who bought tickets through StubHub say their tickets were cancelled at the last minute. CTV says fans have sued StubHub over cancelled tickets. The issue concerns World Cup resale tickets bought through StubHub, with fans alleging cancellations and related losses, and the reporting should not be twisted into a claim that FIFA cancelled those tickets unless that is specifically sourced. This is where the consumer story becomes a tournament story. A fan does not just buy a ticket, they book travel, take time off work, arrange accommodation, sometimes cross borders, and then build the whole trip around one seat in one stadium. If that seat disappears late, the loss is not just the ticket price. It can be flights, hotels, replacement prices, and the emotional gut punch of getting close to the match and still not knowing if you are actually getting in. Fans are sharing frustration over travel costs, replacement prices, and lack of certainty, and that anger is completely predictable. The resale market often talks like convenience with a checkout button, but when the system fails during a World Cup knockout stage, the language changes very quickly. It becomes trust, accountability, and whether supporters are being asked to carry all the risk while platforms collect the transaction. That brings the episode back to the wider bracket picture, because the USA-Belgium collision is now being echoed across fresh coverage of the round of 32. World Cup 2026. USA book Belgium date as Red Devils stun Senegal in dramatic round of 32. Blueprint newspapers. This supplemental report is useful because it ties the two halves of the bracket story together. USA booked the Belgium date, while Belgium's dramatic escape over Senegal gave that tie a much sharper edge. The danger now is treating the matchup like a clean preview when both teams are carrying fresh chaos into it. Blueprint newspapers frames the World Cup 2026 picture around USA booking a Belgium date, while the Red Devils stun Senegal in a dramatic round of 32. As a supplemental source, it does not change the core facts we have already covered, but it reinforces the shape of the next major storyline. USA are moving forward. Belgium are moving forward. Neither side is arriving with a boring, tidy path behind them. That matters because last 16 previews often become too neat. One graphic, two badges, a couple of star names, and suddenly the mess that created the tie gets airbrushed out. But this one is loaded with context. USA have a Balogun red card problem hanging over the attack. Belgium have a comeback, extra time, and a controversial late penalty in the legs and in the headlines. If a match could walk into a room looking suspicious before kickoff, this would be it. So the bracket gives us the simple fact: USA against Belgium. The story gives us the tension. One team may be without a goal-scoring striker, the other just survives Senegal through drama and dispute. That is why this tie is not only about who has the better names on paper. It is about who recovers from the chaos quickly enough to make the next mistake belong to the other side. That is the state of the World Cup on Tablo Sports USA. Are through but waiting on Balogun. Belgium survived but did not convince. England are carrying both Kane controversy and Azteca altitude. Spain and Portugal face very different knockout traps. Germany are already questioning their football identity, and even supporters in the stands are fighting uncertainty over tickets. The knockout stage is supposed to separate the strong from the weak, but right now it is also separating the prepared from the distracted. And the next round is already loaded with consequences.